let's talk about the drought situation in this country. Bit weird talking about drought situation. I don't know about you. We've had loads of rain my way. Indeed, the lawn's lovely and green again. Otherwise, I'd have spent the entire last week using my hosepipe, because as of today, 15 million homes covered by Thames Water. That's a huge amount of the country are seeing a hosepipe ban coming in. Can't water your lawn with a hosepipe, or indeed clean the car or anything else. But this, as we see, 10 of England's 14 regions for the Environmental Agency are now declaring a drought. The West Midlands announced theirs yesterday after prolonged dry weather. Let's talk about all of this with Joel Scott-Halkes, who's an environmentalist at Planet. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia. Thanks so much
for joining us. Only this country could announce hosepipe bans and a drought when we've had about a week of pouring rain. Okay, intermittent with very warm weather. But the reality is the rain that we've seen, huge as some of those thunderstorms have been, it's still not enough, is it?
Exactly right, Julia. Yeah, we're in a pretty dire situation right now. So we're looking at the worst drought since 1976. Across Europe, we've got 2/3 of the continent in drought. In fact, as a continent, it's the worst drought for 500 years. So what we're looking at here really is sort of the warm-up for climate breakdown. So this is dire situation.
Oh, sorry, hold on a minute. I've got to get my tin hat on. I've left it in the cab.
Well, sadly, we're going to need much more than a tin hat. Farmers this year warned that crop failures could see half of potato crops lost. We could be losing up to 10 to 50% of onions, of carrots, of sugar beets. We're looking at potential breakdown of our food systems here. So this is pretty major stuff.
I mean, we're all going to die if we're not burnt or living in drought. I mean, come on. Can we just talk about this sensibly, Joel, without catastrophising it? We haven't built any more reservoirs in 30 years. We have more people using more water, and therefore we've run out of water when we've had a hot summer. That's all it is. It's just an abject failure of planning and infrastructure. It's not a catastrophe. It's not a world-ending event. Why do we have to talk about everything as if it is?
Well, actually, our water infrastructure is far better than it was in previous droughts like 1976. Far, far better.
There are more of us here than 1976. There are more of us here. We need more water.
Julia, the fact of the matter, there's simply less water coming out of the sky and temperatures are hotter. We've just broken the temperature record. We've got to 40 degrees. We have 60 houses burned down from wildfires started by climate change this year. But the fact of the matter is, if you are feeling stressed about this, being worried about it, there are three very simple solutions to the situation that we're facing.
Build reservoirs. There's a solution.
Well, the first thing that we need to do is we've got to end fossil fuels. We need to replace them with clean energy like nuclear energy, wind and solar.
Oh, to be fair, at least you're in favour of nuclear, but OK, even if we end up doing that, we're still going to need gas for quite a long time. You know that, and I know that. You can't be a sensible person involved in this conversation and not realise that. So that's going to be around for probably quite a few decades to come, isn't it?
Yeah, but we need to transition off it. I mean, so once you sort out fossil fuels, the second thing we need to do if we want to prevent droughts like this is transition to a plant-based diet. So we need to be getting rid of meat and dairy, which is the biggest cause of climate and nature crisis. And if we
that's the biggest cause. I'm sorry, but that's a load of nonsense. We are using less land to feed more people from agriculture than we did, say, 50 years or 100 years ago, because of fantastic developments in the way we farm and in agriculture and irrigation, and indeed of pesticides and things. I mean, come on, we don't need to give up meat and to go along with fatty vegan diets in order to feed the planet. We've been having these Malthusian predictions that we're going to the world's going to starve and we're not going to be able to feed the planet for hundreds of years. Never going to happen.
Well, I totally agree with you that we need to free up more land, and that is fantastic if we can find ways of producing more crops on less land. So you're completely right on that. But the best way to do that is to end meat and dairy, which is the biggest land-hungry thing that we've got on this planet. So in the UK, 85% of our agricultural footprint is just for livestock.
So what? I like eating meat. I like drinking milk. Good. First world country, I want to be able to do that. What's it got to do with you?
Well, what it's got to do with me is that you and I are both going to go down if drought sees mass crop failures and we see the breakdown of civilization.
No, but okay, we're not going to see mass crop failures and the breakdown of civilization if we actually build the infrastructure to irrigate land and not have an issue. If we simply build more reservoirs so we don't have a problem where we have a particularly hot summer, this is all well within man's capability to deal with. I mean, but while we catastrophize it and talk about everything in terms of the planet's going to die and everything's going to be awful, we don't deal with the real issue.
Well, I totally agree. Well, let's stop talking catastrophe for a minute.
But you haven't. You've done that. You've done that for 5 minutes.
One of the beautiful solutions that we've got here is rewilding. And if we do slim down on meat and dairy and spare up land for rewilding, we can actually cool our land. So if you take like a beaver, something that you can put back in a rewilding project, that wets the landscape, locks up more moisture into our farmland, and actually cools the atmosphere around it. So we've got an opportunity here to repair this green and present land. We've got an opportunity to bring Britain back to the beautiful situation it would have been for our great-grandparents.
Are you absolutely, I'm sorry, with all due respect, Joel, are you absolutely insane? Our great-grandparents lived with, outdoor toilet if they were lucky, no central heating, scrabbling for food. People were desperate, they were cold, they were hungry. They lived about 30 years less than we do now. This idea of this perfect, wonderful existence people had in the past, the world now is better today than it's ever been, and tomorrow it'll be better still. Why do you want us all back in caves with wolves controlling the countryside? I mean, that's what you're talking about, isn't it?
Well, Julia, I'm actually completely with you on this. I think we need really high quality of life. We can have a high energy system. You don't need to look outraged at this. I'm in favour of nuclear power, so we can have a high energy lifestyle. I'm in favour of things like precision fermentation, so we can have abundant, low cost protein. But I'm also in favour of making sure that biodiversity doesn't collapse, so that we don't see the collapse of this beautiful natural world.
But we're not going to. But this is the whole point. Every single report on all of these things, people like you, who I mean, you clearly know your stuff, but you catastrophise everything. So we never have a sensible debate, and then someone will just tweet me and go, you're a climate denier or something nonsense like that. The reality is the climate is changing. Climate changes. It always has, always will be. It's kind of irrelevant whether there's a human aspect to it or not, or how significant that is. The point is that man, with our wonderful human ingenuity, we can mitigate against that. We see fewer deaths is it 95% or something from natural disasters because of our ability to deal with them, whether it's drought, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's tornadoes, whether it's wildfires alike. We actually can deal with all of these things. And if we don't have this sort of hysterical catastrophizing of every single issue as if it's about the planet's about to die, and we just talk about, okay, we've got an issue with this, right, how would we deal with that? If we start dealing with it in a rather more cool-headed way, then we can have a sensible conversation. But I mean, you keep saying to me you agree with me after saying, I mean, frankly, quite a lot of sort of stuff that I'd expect to hear from Greta Thunberg.
Well, I tell you what, why don't we take me out of the equation and we'll just look at the basic facts that happened this year, and it'd be interesting to know what you say about this. So we've just broken our all-time temperature record. That's a physical reality. We've broken 40 degrees.
It's not all-time. It's not all. Since human beings have been measuring these things, we've been coming out of a mini ice age for the last couple of centuries.
But humanity and our civilization, which you and I both agree is brilliant. I don't want to be going back to the cave ages. I want to live in this high...
Okay, we've got about 20 seconds. So...
now. But this is how humanity developed, in this safe, sweet spot of the climate, and that is ending. Temperatures are breaking, and the civilization that we grew up in.
The predictions of the sky-high temperatures at the end of the century, not a single climate model has been remotely accurate. Honestly, enjoy your life. I'm so worried that I'm saying this patronising as a 54-year-old. So many young people just think the world is a terrible place and it's all going to end. It's not. Enjoy your life. In 20 years' time, you'll come back and say, oh, Julia, you were right, because I am. It's really worrying that so many people are so terrified of what's going on. Joel Scott-Halkes, really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you very much.